You know, I'm starting to think old Ben thinks we'll believe anything. Do you? Yeah, I get it. But before you say great, another Ben Milliken video, I need you to pay special attention to this one. This serves as an opening act to a video coming later this week that will reveal some of the very harmful decisions Bass has made behind the scenes that will affect how their anglers are covered during this year's Bassmaster Classic. We're going to start by fact-checking several claims that Ben made in a video about a month ago. Now, to believe some of this stuff, you're either going to have an IQ below 2 or have had your 402 jersey sewn into a body pillow.
And anything I say in this video, as my lawyer told me, can and will be used against me in the court of law.
Well, your attorney's not wrong on this one, but also, don't be shocked if Texas Parks and Wildlife isn't looking into all those other videos you made fishing in Texas during the months you didn't have a license. Next, he goes on to incorrect everybody on what the ShareLunker season is.
Texas has a ShareLunker program where if you catch a fish over 13 pounds and a bass, that is largemouth bass over 13 pounds, anytime from January 1st until I think it's May 1st.
No, the ShareLunker season for the Legacy class runs between January 1st and March 31st of every year. Next, he goes on to tell us how his friend Joe caught a beautiful ShareLunker on OHIV, but in doing so, blew it up for everybody else.
We saw what happened at OHIV when we turned in Joe's fish. We ended up calling the ShareLunker program, and the lake that we were the only boat at for a couple days, all of a sudden there was 1,000+ boats there. I'm going to say for a year or two straight every single day. Craziness. Completely changed the fishery.
No. This is the kind of BS that was in the cow thumbnail if y'all were lucky enough to see that one. OHIV has always been a popular fishery. Do you know it's logged 54 ShareLunkers over the past 5 seasons? The most recent being January 2nd of this year. It's not because a YouTube star and his buddy caught a very nice fish there once. Now ask yourself this. If you were lucky enough to catch a ShareLunker, wouldn't you remember when you caught it?
Last year, start of February 6th, I think it was. I've seen the date now a million times in these documents.
Yeah, I know it comes off as a bit nitpicky, but he's off by a day. He actually caught the fish on February 5th. But this is his career we're talking about here. He might want to pay a little bit more attention to those court documents. Now, why hasn't Ben participated in the ShareLunker program before now? Here, let him tell you.
But the problem is, you guys post on your social media to tens of, I don't know how many people follow them, but maybe hundreds of thousands of people, exactly where the fish was caught that day. And then the lakes kind of get blown out and they get 1 million people at them here in Texas the next subsequent days.
But see, that's the catch. It's a taxpayer-funded program, so they've got to be transparent.
Okay, well, is there any way we can not list the name of the lake? And they said basically their hands are tied with it, and they have to list it. They have to make a post about it.
Now, this part is 100% correct. There were actually 2 press releases released about this catch. One basically the day of. Now, it included the name of the lakes for the other 2 anglers that caught their fish, but it conveniently left out Ben's. Do you know I called down there and talked to Natalie back when this happened? I wanted to know why wasn't Ben's lake included in the press release. She said the exact same thing. Ben didn't want the lake blown up, but she had conversed with the powers that be and they weren't going to be able to hide it. So a couple days later, the press release was modified to include Lake Nacogdoches as where Ben caught his fish. So what was his first step in submitting the fish?
The lake warden there that's on site, he'll come down with a scale to officially weigh it. It's an official scale right there, which he did, and then we'll send out a truck, is just assuming it's over 13 pounds.
But that's just it. He wasn't a game warden. He was there with a certified scale, at least one approved by Texas Parks and Wildlife to weigh your fish. He wasn't going to check your fishing license. Now, here's where he should have started making better decisions.
I'm able to start getting some information put in, and I get to the bottom, and it says enter your Texas Parks ID number and your fishing license number. I'm like, I got to go on their website, Texas Parks and Wildlife, to get that information. And so I'm now trying to get on another website, which is not the easiest or best put together website to navigate all the time. I'll just say that.
Now, when you buy a license online in the state of Texas, you're supposed to upload it to your Texas Outdoor Annual app. This serves as kind of a digital wallet for all your Texas hunting and fishing licenses. If you want, you can also have a physical copy mailed to you as well.
At that point, I'm just like, screw it, I want to fish. I am going to just see if I can put another license through to purchase because it's not pulling up my information.
Well, it didn't pull up in the system because he didn't have one.
They didn't, again, one important thing to think about is they didn't check my fishing license when they came to get the fish. Nothing was, asked about that.
No, it wasn't the job of the quick response team to check your fishing license. They're there to pick up your fish. They're not law enforcement. Okay, let's hear the excuse.
Something important to note first is that Texas is kind of funky with their fishing licenses. They don't renew it a calendar year. It's not year from the purchase. They all renew, whether you get it in August 20th or you get it, January 1st. They all renew at August 31st.
Wrong. Yes, the most popular fishing license in the state of Texas does run from September 1st to August 31st the next year. But yes, there is a year-to-date option. How many Texans fish in the state of Texas and don't know this? Yeah, it breaks my brain.
My thought process was when I purchased that on my phone, there's been many times in the past where I have lost fishing licenses when, we used to have the paper ones, where I've gotten a paper one somewhere and then it wasn't in the system in the state or whatever, and I ended up buying 2 or plus licenses for that state for the year, whatever. And
Many times? Lost? Wasn't in the system? Wait, how'd you know it wasn't in the system if you weren't checked?
In December, I heard from a friend in business, someone I do business with, basically that there's some issues going on between Texas Parks and Wildlife and me, and they were kind of curious about what was going on with that. And I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. So I call the ShareLunker facility to Natalie, and she tells me that she has been told not to speak with me. She can't comment on the matter. And I said, okay, well, that's odd. You've always been very friendly to me. What's going on here? This is crazy. And she said, well, the game warden would like to speak with you.
Now, this is the part where I remind my viewers that I never burn my sources, because if I do, I won't have any. But 2 things apply to this. Number 1, remember earlier on the video when I told you this was the opening act of something bigger? Well, buckle up, because this is where it starts. The second thing is, trust between a journalist and a source is a 2-way street. So when a source feels it necessary to share private conversations between the journalist and him, with however many third parties that go around the rumor mill and end up back in my inbox, then I'm no longer obligated to play by those same rules. So do I think I know the exact conversation and with who he's referring to? Yeah, I do. I should name names, but I'm not, because I'm going to be the bigger man there. I'm not going to lie, that betrayal kind of stung. Because see, early on, Ben was convinced that there were outside influences at play that were pushing the game warden to come up with this charge of fraud. I told him as a journalist I would look into it for him and I would report whatever it was I found out. But you want to know something? I was the only journalist doing it, the only one helping. This is before he went on podcasts with Duncan and everybody else. It was me, behind the scenes, doing the heavy lifting. But yeah, I looked into it. And you know what I found? No conspiracy. I found a badass game warden who is damn good at his job, who is just trying to help the ShareLunker program maintain the sanctity and the integrity of that very important conservation program to the state of Texas. Think about it. If they're seen as letting the social media stars slide on a rule, common Joes like you and me aren't going to want to participate. So they did what they had to protect the sanctity of the program. One thing's for sure, you don't go on to repay someone who's helping you by sharing their text messages with other people. And then you go on to bash smaller channels, what people call shitty channels. But I don't think you consider me one of those, right? I mean, remember when you once said to me, yo dude, didn't see this message, but I was actually reaching out because I watched a few of your recent videos that popped up and wanted to say great job on these. The Zeldanes are pure scum, and it's refreshing to have someone speak out about their bullshit when other pros are unable to publicly voice the issues they've caused them. Also, spot on with Swindle. Look at some of those haters and trolls saying I'm not media and that I'm not even a member of the industry. Bless your hearts. And going back to you thought there was outside influence on the game warden? Remember when you had this to say? I was talking to Blink yesterday. He said he randomly got a text from Trait Zaldane a few weeks ago. Hadn't even spoken to her since he did their podcast over a year ago. All she said was, I know Ben turned that fish in knowing he didn't have a license. Fucking psychopath scum. See, I don't control the narrative like some people say. And also, I'm not the useful idiot people have accused me of either. However, I do keep my word, and I'll play the role of the useful idiot if it helps me get to the truth. So like DJ said,
congratulations, you played yourself.
He goes on to explain how baffled both he and his lawyer are that he even caught this charge.
He's like, one, it's not a tournament. Two, you're owner of a company that sponsors this with the tackle they're talking about. Three, you weren't eligible since they, wouldn't let you go to the banquet and said your fish was uneligible prior to the drawing, prior to the banquet. And four, you already paid a ticket for fishing without a license. We don't understand why this is going to go any further or what really the motive is here, what's going on. So I said, me either.
Okay, fine, whatever. He says it wasn't a tournament. However, it's not double jeopardy either. There are two charges here. The first was a Class C misdemeanor of fishing without a license, which he's taken care of. The fraud charge, that comes in because he submitted a document where he certified he was legal at the time of the catch, and he wasn't. That's where the fraud charge comes in. Not double jeopardy, two separate charges. And what was his take on his 20 minutes of hard time at the jail?
Take your fingerprints, your mug shot, which you guys have all seen and so graciously got passed around by the experts across all of social media when this all came out.
Yeah, I remember somebody selling shirts with that mug shot. Who is that again?
There's East Texas, I'm not going to say meth heads, that would be rude, but individuals that were in there that I got to talking to.
I caught all kinds of crap on the BBC for saying that he chose wisely by going with a jury trial. I didn't mean that negatively. I meant he has a better shot at connecting with the common man than a judge on a bench trial. I sure as hell didn't call them meth heads. But if you're looking for meth on a Texas lake, shoreline delivery, Tawakoni's your best bet. One thing's for certain, he wants to win the Bassmaster Classic for his home state of Nebraska, not his new state of Texas, as you can see here in this nice little middle finger of a hashtag. So why is this case taking so long?
It's small town, East Texas stuff, small city, and apparently the college kids do a lot of their accounting work for them, and so they were on break and stuff.
No, just no. I felt embarrassed even asking this question because I already knew the answer to it. At least the county court staff got a good laugh. In reality, it's nothing more than a typical pretrial delay. It gives both sides a chance to get their discovery together and maybe even talk about a plea. The next date on the calendar is August 6th at 9 a.m. Okay, Ben, sum it up for us.
First to admit, it was a negligent, issue on my end that I will be even more strict about as far as making sure I get my license,
Well, we kind of agree there. It all boils down to some bad decisions over just a 3-minute period. Who knew they could be life-changing, right? Anyway, I want to remind everyone that it's Bassmaster Classic Week. I've got a big video coming down later this week that you will not want to miss. Also, I'm planning 2 very nice giveaways for my 5,000 subscriber milestone. But in order to win, you've got to subscribe, so jump right to it. And you know what? I want to give a shout out to all my channel members. Thank each and every single one of you for being here and watching. Please do me a favor. Subscribe, like, comment, share around with your friends. And until next time we meet, get out there on the water and keep it wet.
Yo, it's a real tackle. Let's get to the facts. I don't sugarcoat nothing. I'm spitting the max. You think I'm holding back? Nah, I better step back. I'm dropping lines like